Thank you for being here. May these conversations remind you that your tenderness is your strength. Welcome to the Tender Heart Podcast.
Hello. We've already done half the bloody podcast. Hey, bring it closer to you. Yeah, you can.
How do I have to sit in a specific
No, you
way?
sit however you like. You just want.
So I can put my feet up?
Yeah, please do. You can just want the microphone to be like.
Close.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is
It's a bit phallic, isn't it?
just a bit phallic.
You should have seen the ones I had before. They're bulbous and phallic.
Should I show you how to? Should I do my action for me? I touch it for me.
Well, I wanted to go straight into that, Lisa.
Are we recording?
Yeah, we're all on.
Oh my
it's
God.
all happening. So the first time we met, it wasn't. It must have been within 10 minutes we started talking about sex, but not just the act of sex, but all the complicated, nuanced parts that I struggle with sex around it.
Yeah.
So I'd just like to talk a little bit about what you do.
Yes.
And then I will praise the shit out of it and how important I think it is, especially around like the surprisingly complicated story around consent.
Yeah.
Because what consent seems like and what we all know as consent, sometimes there's deeper layers.
There's so many layers to it.
What are the fundamentals that you teach people when it comes to consent?
So I'd say number one, slow down. It's all about slowing down, pausing, lots of pauses. The work that I do, we don't do very much, but a lot happens. And, the more we can slow down, the more we can feel ourselves. And when we can feel ourselves, we can notice what's there. We can value what's there. We can trust what's there. Because that's another thing. When we start feeling ourselves, it's like, oh, there's a no or a maybe or I'm not sure. But then we don't trust it. We don't value it because we're wanting to please the person who's whatever. There's so much that goes on. So it really is about slowing down and noticing and being in touch with ourselves moment to moment. And then, as we talked about before, it's breaking down. When any two people are in action, who is it for?
So what does that mean?
Okay. So should we talk about touch specifically?
Yes.
We can also talk about talking. Let's do touch. So you can touch me for me, or you can touch me for you. And that is very, very different, right? If you're touching me for me, I've got to be really specific about what I want. I've got to be able to know that. I've got to be able to communicate that. And one of the most beautiful things I've seen, and it still touches, I feel quite emotional actually, was this woman who did my workshop. And we'd done what's called the empowering massage, where you receive exactly what your body wants, if you want it, nothing less, nothing more, and you only receive it for a short amount of time. And the whole nervous system just relaxes. And she sat up and she had this smile on her face. And I just knew it was the first time in her life she'd been touched the way her body wanted.
Do you feel that's something that especially women aren't aware of, that during sex with their, say just for the sake of just for ease with their male partner, they're often being touched for them?
Yes.
Like allowing the man to touch them because that's what he wants.
Yeah. And it's unconscious because for thousands of years, that's what's been the norm. It's come from our mothers, it's come from our grandmothers, that to go along with is what we've been taught to do and to make the most out of it. So we're very good at that. We're very good at sort of...
And to make the most out of it.
Make most of it. So if we're receiving something that feels good, instead of asking, oh, can you move a bit to the left or a bit slower? We often we don't ask for that because we can be, I'll speak for myself, was frightened of upsetting you, right? It's like, oh, I don't want you. And that can happen to start with as well when we start exploring this work. that when we start asking for what we want, the other person can get upset. It can feel like, oh, I got it wrong. I should have known what you wanted.
Yeah.
And that can bring up stuff. That definitely happened for me when I first started this work. When people were asking me to touch them in a different way, I would feel like, oh, I've got it wrong, because there is this like idea of I should know what that person wants.
But because of, however many years of conditioning, they might be so out of tune of that. So what are so two-part question, but like, what's the first steps for a woman in this example to start making like progress on that? And second part, how would they ask their partner? Like, how do you make that switch?
Okay. I was talking from a women's perspective here. Okay. So the first thing would be to do it non-sexually. It's actually really important that we embody this non-sexually first before bringing it into the sexual arena. Because it's so, in terms of, we're sexually programmed to do things in a certain way. So, for example, if I was to say to you, will you touch my hand? For you, it would be a different experience than if you touch my inner thigh for you, right? You can't help it because there's so much programming in the way. So we always start with non-sexual touch. So my workshops are always non-sexual. Well, the level 1 definitely is. And then, you can progress into that. But to really embody it non-sexually and start with touching something that isn't a human, an object. So, any object. So Betty Martin, who created this, she created the Wheel of Consent. She was working with humans where she was trying to get them to touch her for them, and they couldn't do it because when you're touching someone else, you're in the story of them, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm touching this object, there's not so much story. Well, I can have a story about it, but pleasure's based on 3 components. It's based on the attention, the sensation, and the meaning. So we're trying to take the meaning out of it because the meaning is more in the mind, right? So if I'm touching this and I'm focusing on the sensations in my skin and I've got the attention here, I'm able to feel more. If I make a story about it, that can enhance it. The story could be... The funny story was my friend in Bali was touching her bathtub and it was just really pleasurable. And then she opened her eyes and saw it was bird shit. And suddenly it didn't feel so good anymore, right?
Yeah, right.
But it could also be, you could make a story about it being whatever turns you on, whatever, so the story can create a different experience. But waking up the hands and the sensations in your skin is really important. And this is the first language that we learn. When we were inside our mothers, we couldn't speak, think. We were sensation, vibration. We could feel it. We were receiving her through our hands, through our skin. And then when we're born, again, we're receiving, we're feeling. So the body has this memory of feeling. And doing this actually calms our nervous system and releases oxytocin. It makes us calm. So then when I'm then feeling this object, it makes me feel relaxed. I can feel it now. I can feel my body just going a bit, and then exploring someone else's. So, okay, may I feel your hand for my pleasure, but instead of it being an object, I'm now doing it with your hand. And then that's a different scenario. So noticing that, what does that feel like?
If you're taking the meaning out of the touch, then when it comes to being with a partner, I imagine that the trust takes that meaning's place, right? Like, how important would trust become in a relationship where there doesn't have to be meaning to the touch?
Well, what I've realized, that this is all about trusting myself more than anything. And this is what brought me on this journey. I feel quite emotional. I went down to London to learn Tantra and had experiences with my tantric teacher, which were really pleasurable.
Just for anyone who doesn't know, what's Tantra?
Oh, what is Tantra? Yeah, for most people, Tantra is
I mean, I think people have like a
Yeah,
preconceived-
yeah. For most people, it's exploring sexuality in a specific way. For me, tantra is a route to awakening. It's a route to being in connection with ourselves. It's using our sexual energy as it naturally was meant to be used. And I went down to become a tantric practitioner, and I did tantric body work. And the first session I had with my teacher, and I shared this with you before, it was like, it's really pleasurable. But there was something in me that didn't feel right. And then I ended up being raped by a fellow practitioner. And that made me look into this like whole thing around how am I not trusting myself when I'm with men, right? Because there was still a part of me that was going along with or believed my teacher when he told me that my yoni was broken and needed fixing. There was a part of me that was wanting this guy to like me. There was a lot of unconscious stuff that was going on. Yeah. So ultimately it's about trusting myself moment to moment. How can I stay in connection with myself and honor my limits and my desires?
God, I have so many questions.
If what we've explored here today resonates with you, I'd love to invite you to go deeper. You can work with me one-to-one, or you can join one of my workshops. My desire is to create spaces where you can slow down, you can listen to your body, and you can reconnect with your truth. To really let your body soften, to let your truth unfold, and your pleasure return. Your pleasure is your birthright. You'll find all the details in the show notes.
I guess I relate a lot of it back to being in a relationship, because I've been in a relationship, you know, with my partner for the past 6 years. And so I'm in that space, right? I mean, what am I trying to ask? How do you find the balance between like...
Let's say you're touching your partner for you, right? If you are needing her to react in a certain way for it to feel good for you, you are touching her from what's called the indirect route of pleasure. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So I take enjoyment going
You're
down.
taking enjoyment, but you need her to do something for it to feel good for you.
What, like orgasm?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or let's say she's lying like a dead fish, it wouldn't feel good for you.
Right.
Right. So you need her to do something.
Feedback. Yeah.
You need that feedback loop. And there's nothing wrong with that feedback loop. But most people are looping in that feedback loop. And what happens for me, if someone's touching me now from that place, I unconsciously go into performing.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's that pressure on pleasing, making something happen, right?
Yeah.
And this feeling of performing, right? And there's nothing per se wrong with that. But if you could touch your partner from what's called the direct route of pleasure, which is this moving towards what feels good in your body. So you're feeling yourself.
Yeah.
Right? You're feeling yourself against her skin. You're not out to please her, but you're feeling yourself against her from within. So you're not pushing for something to happen. It's from within. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Then you're in touch with yourself. You can then feel yourself more. You can then also feel her more because you have access to feeling yourself rather than needing her to do something.
What's the difference between that and a guy who's having sex with a woman solely for his own pleasure? Where he doesn't even care, you know, that kind of...
Well, if he's solely having it for himself, then he's in that indirect route of pleasure. He's just feeling it for himself.
Yeah.
So he's using her as an object, right? Yeah.
Which is a shame, right? Because I imagine most men, in not just in relationships but with sexual partners, they want their partner to enjoy the process.
I've never met any men that actually don't.
Right.
Yeah. So I actually think that men really want women to enjoy.
Yeah, like we want to serve.
Yes.
But But I think often we might not know how to do that properly.
Yeah, or the women feel like instead of you giving, they feel like they're giving because they're giving access.
Yeah. So yeah. So what are the first steps for a couple to like awaken this? So what's the best sex, I guess, is what I'm looking for. Is it where both partners are doing it for themselves but in tune with the other person?
Yes. That's where those really beautiful states can happen, where both people are really in tune with themselves. They can feel themselves, they can hold themselves.
Including foreplay.
Well, it's all foreplay.
Right. Yeah.
It's all foreplay, right? To me, it's all foreplay, especially for women.
Because while we're talking about foreplay, like there is this misconception where, you know, if a woman goes down on a bloke, she's doing it just for him. Like she's giving him head to make him climax. That's the end goal, and that was like a one-way street. And I've spoken to different women, and some of them, they love giving it, and then some hate it.
Yeah, I've noticed it's either one or the other.
Yeah.
And I do think, again, I think there's some women that love giving it, but it can be from that place of being rewarded, being a good girl and getting it right.
Yeah.
Bit like men.
Yeah.
You know, men like giving women. So it can come from this place of actually who's it really for, and what do I need you to do? It's very different if you're using a cock for you. You can
open that up, because that's a difficult one for a lot of people to understand. Especially when you're talking about like a blowjob.
Yeah, yeah. So if I'm giving you a blowjob, so to speak, right? I would be in action. It would be for you. I would need to be really clear about. You would have to be clear about, how do you want me to give you this blowjob? I would have to be clear about, you know, do I even want that? And often we don't even have conversations around that. So, you know, that could be good to have anyway, because guys feel pressure as well. You know, there's loads of guys I know that like they don't even like that quick blowjob because they feel under pressure to.
Yeah, they can't even climax because they're too in their head.
Yeah. So, but actually, if it's my action and it's for me, then I can explore that cock from a place what feels good for me. You know, so I can, instead of an object, I'm using the cock. I can use that cock against my forehead or against my mouth, against my body, my pussy, my whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm exploring it, and you know, as women, we can actually use the cock to de-armor our throat. You know, we have a lot of blockages in our mouths as well. So, you know, we can use it to heal ourselves, right? And for most guys, they actually really like just relaxing and giving the gift of their body for our pleasure, for our healing, or, you know, whatever that might be.
Yeah, and I imagine it takes the pressure off if you know that the woman is actually enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know where I read it, but it was so true when, like I don't know, this is very like two-dimensional, but the best blowjob is just, it's not necessarily the technique, it's just the enthusiasm. Yeah. Because you're like, oh, she really likes it. But there's such a like fine balance between like them doing it for you and them doing it for themselves.
Yeah.
And then them doing it for praise because they've done a good job.
Yeah.
It's like different layers to it.
Yeah, because I think you're right that women tend to either be good at it, enjoy doing it, or they shut down. I was one of the shut down people. It's like, why? Birthdays and Christmas, if you're lucky, years ago.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to do it, but I felt I had to do it now, and then that would be
See, for me, like from a teenager, I always felt a bit I was always very insecure around sex, and I felt like a little bit below par, like I wasn't going to be good enough, sort of thing. So I quite quickly got into going down on a girl.
Yeah.
Because I could, like, in layman's terms, right, I could secure the deal before starting myself.
Yeah.
And I've kind of carried that on the whole way.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, I loved doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because it makes me feel safe.
Yeah, because yeah, in some
Because
ways it can maybe be avoiding eye contact. You know,
yeah,
you're further down.
and if I know that I've pleased her or
Yeah.
think that I've pleased her, then the pressure's off to perform during sex.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is just to be curious and to be open about what we're doing and why we're doing it, and you just be honest with ourselves. It's like I'm curious what's really going on here or not. You know,
What's the like with when you're working with couples? What's like a reoccurring challenge that you see within couples and between themselves? And just for the sake, like male, female.
male female. So that could quite often be that the guy might, as you say, he would be giving, so she has an orgasm.
Yeah.
And then he would be ready to receive, but she's done by then.
Yeah.
Because she's already given access.
Oh, fuck.
Right?
Yeah.
So they've both been giving. This it's a huge problem. I had this with I was with this one guy once, and I remember him asking me for something, to do something to him. And because I felt like I should know what he really wanted, but I was a bit insecure and I didn't want to ask, so I wanted to not, so I just went into action. And instead of him asking me to adjust because I wasn't doing what he wanted, I was doing what I thought he wanted. He didn't ask me to adjust, so he ended up, just letting me go, letting me do it. So he was giving access,
Yeah.
and I was working my head off doing, and it was so unsatisfactory for both of us. We both ended up getting a bit angry, but then
Yeah, angry and awkward.
angry and
just
awkward,
like,
and yeah.
why do you think so many of us are like that, where we find it so awkward to talk about sex? Especially with those that you love the most, right? Where you want to have the best sex.
There's so much shame in it. I mean, you're talking quite openly about sex. I love it. Most people really struggle to.
Yeah.
There's so much shame. There's huge amounts of shame in our sexuality. We've been taught, and then at the same time, it's so out there.
Well, and I mean, in terms of porn and how objectified it is, and well, not just objectified, but like how over sexualized it is.
Yeah.
It really does paint like a completely different picture of what sex can be. But like, especially I speak for men, like growing up watching porn since I was 14 and then having this idea of like, that's what sex is.
Yeah.
And it's very performative.
Yeah.
And it's very like, I mean, I think I was lucky I didn't just try to go at it like you see in porn films, a lot of porn films.
Yeah.
But you do kind of have like
It's imprinted.
a warped idea of what it is.
Have you ever tried pussy gazing?
Go on. What is it? Is it just staring at it?
Yeah. And
I mean, I've been addicted to porn my whole life, so like I feel like I'm a professional pussy gazer.
Yeah, but gazing at the pussy from a place of, wow, this pussy has birthed a child.
Oh yeah.
Actually, it's amazing. I've just come back from a retreat where we were like 100 women and we were pussy gazing and doing all sorts of stuff together.
But that would like tear fear through the minds of so many women. That idea of like looking at
It's vulnerable.
like, how do you get over that initial like I can hands up say I would never do that in a room full of people, getting my bits out, and I am envious of those that can do it.
Yeah,
Because
I think we need to start slowly, right? So
yeah, right, because there's steps to get there,
and it's all about safety and the nervous system. And the work that I do is really about safe, slow. And I actually see in rooms like that people overriding themselves and maybe not really doing what's right for them. So what I'm actually planning on doing is I'm doing a monthly women's group where the first theme is self-pleasure, right? And, you get to choose how you self-pleasure, right? You've got to be open to other women taking their clothes off and self-pleasuring, but you don't have to take any clothes off. You could just take your top off or not. And you do it in a way that feels safe for you and slow enough for you. Because it's really... it's really beautiful to be able to look, and it's amazing looking at a person than looking at a pussy, because they sort of match, you know, they just like, oh, I can tell that's your pussy. And when you look at the pussy, she almost talks to you, she moves.
Yeah.
And when you think of that, the wisdom and the knowledge and what she's able to, the pleasure she carries, the pain she carries, the life that she gives, it's just like, wow.
Yeah, I have the same enthusiasm for them as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And you could do the same with a cock. You could gaze at the cock and you know, and also because when we look at things from a different angle, you know, like maybe curiosity is like, oh, wow, I hadn't noticed that before. You know, it, almost like the first time we're looking at something.
For people that, you know, they don't even want the lights on, like they're at that point. Comfortable being naked, but with the lights off. Like, what is that connected to?
Shame.
And I mean, I used to be there.
Yeah,
but...
shame, I imagine, shame around their bodies. And we all have that. You know, I think we all, well, I know that we all have body shame to some extent, because we have these voices that tell us that our bodies should look different. So I suppose the journey is to be able to really look at yourself first.
Yeah.
And accept yourself and love those parts that don't love yourself, and, you know, have come to peace with them.
How did you get into this?
Okay. So I was always fascinated by sex.
Okay.
I remember when I was a teenager, I was like, yeah, I was always fascinated. And for years, I thought there's gotta be more to sex than what I'm experiencing. You know, for years, clit orgasm was it, right? And that, you know, that's great. And every time I Googled or looked into it, because back in the day it was obviously Google wasn't a thing, it's like, oh, actually, if you can have an orgasm, you're lucky. Some women can't even orgasm, you know. Good for you.
Yeah.
And there's some women that can have internal orgasms. And I was like, yeah, well, why aren't I one of these women? Why can't I have one of them? I just knew that was more. And then after a series of events of life happening, I decided that I ended up doing a tantra course that was really not very good, but it opened up something in me. And that's when I realized I need to learn more. And that's when I went down to London, and I was like, I had this feeling of that I wanted to bring tantra or something around tantra to the Northeast, and I had no idea how it was going to happen. I had no idea what was going to happen. It brought me on a real interesting journey that's brought me to the consent work, which will always be the foundations of everything that I share, and then we can build on top of that. But yeah, I just knew that there was more available. And my friend Kate and I, we met during our tantric training together, and we set up what we call tantric tours, where we sell yoni eggs and yoni wands. And we created this one where we had our first G-spot orgasm. And we were just like, yes, ladies, you can do this. And also, we don't want to shame anyone who can't have an internal orgasm, but, you know, a lot of us, you know, including myself, we carry this numbness within our pussies, and we think that's normal. But it's just numb because it hasn't received what it wanted. It hasn't received the touch and the penetration and that it craved, and then it, after a while, becomes numb. Yeah, that's what happened to me.
So why do you think some women can't reach an internal orgasm? Is it like a physical thing, or is it a psychological thing? Is it?
It can be many things, but often it is physical. So if you think about it, if we're penetrated, we don't learn at an early age how to explore our own bodies, what feels good. You know, oh, that spot's nice, that spot's not so nice. You know, we don't learn how to connect with ourselves. You know, self-pleasure is, in my opinion, something that should be a priority, whether we're in a relationship or not. You know, and really exploring our own pleasure, what feels good for me, what, you know, what am I yes to, what am I no to. So therefore most of us end up having sex that, you know, it may be pleasurable, but for a lot of women actually it's not pleasurable, and then it becomes less and less pleasure. We become more and more numb. So the more we go along with, the more numb the body.
And they become further and further away from what it is that they enjoy.
And then we blame ourselves. That's what I did.
Yeah.
I was like,
Just
I'm
the
numb
cherry on top.
inside. I'm numb inside. There's something wrong with me. I can have a clear orgasm, but I wasn't feeling much inside. And then, then I'm told, well, there's something wrong with you that needs fixing. Rather than actually there's something within you that's shut down. And the way to open up to that is being able to be in connection with yourself and feel yourself, and starting to let the pussy open slowly when she's ready.
Would you say it's just as important, if not more important, for women to explore themselves on their own as it is for men?
Yes.
Because men quite instinctively figure out how to wank themselves off.
Yeah, but then they don't explore their prostate.
They don't.
Many men, or they don't massage their testicles.
Yeah.
They tend to do things in a certain way. So you say they're pretty good at having a wank, right?
Why do you think that is? Why men are so... Is it because, with porn, because we're so stimulated visually, do you think it's just easier for men to start doing it themselves?
I used to be a wanker.
Yeah, right wanker.
I used to be one of them. I used to be like a quick,
I'm
quick orgasm.
I'm not like naive to it. Like I've met a few women that just don't pleasure themselves. Yeah. I don't think I know any men that don't. Is that fair to say? I mean, I don't ask every man I know either, but
yeah, no, I think
I just wonder why that is. Is that like shame again? Like shame to touch yourself? It seems such an injustice.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I know, like within growing up as a bloke, us boys, we were all very open about wanking and porn and maybe objectifying it so that it's not too deep and easy to talk about with your male counterparts, right?
Yeah.
Like teenage boys, we're not going to get too deep about things. And then I think maybe the girls, like at the same age, it was just taboo. Like you don't talk about that. I feel like maybe it was... I mean, I grew up in the 90s, right, where it was very, it was page 3 in the Sun, and it was like women were very objectified anyway.
Yeah.
In that era, I remember. And so it was a bit like, oh, the lads wank, 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 wank.
Yeah.
And all women, you're there for us to wank, 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 wank.
Yeah.
And maybe like it stems from that. I don't know.
Yeah, and a lot of the TV was a bit like that,
Like I didn't even realize that women watch porn until I was in my 30s. I really thought it was like exclusively a bloke thing. And that, I think I must have seen a documentary. That's how I discovered it. That there's porn which is more geared towards women.
Yeah.
Rather than the porn that a lot of young guys are watching, which to be honest is getting nutty.
Yes. Yeah.
Getting like what I think is actually damaging to everybody's psyche.
Yeah.
Because it's so far removed from what like sex should be, I think. Well, not should.
Yeah, and it's more and more...
There's more of it.
Yeah, more of it, and more stimulation, more, more. Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's fine for there to be like a spectrum of sex, everything from vanilla to every flavor in the basket, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. But what we're being shown is like all the extreme stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like...
Yeah, and what I see often with guys as well is that there's... Then they're disconnected from their sexual essence.
Yeah.
And then the body can start shutting down. That's when erectile dysfunction can creep in.
I remember all throughout my 20s and 30s, I would struggle having sex in relationships or out of relationships because I wasn't present.
Yeah.
I would have to close my eyes and play back porn scenes that I'd seen. Yeah. And I know this is the same with some other guys that I know. And it's like, and thankfully I did the work, and I'm in a place now where it helps because my partner's got a type that really does it for me.
Yeah.
Visually, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But also, I love her a lot, and I feel connected with her. But like I was in some long-term relationships in my 20s where I was always reimagining porn scenes in my head.
And they could have been as well. I used to,
And
as
they
well.
could have been as well, yeah.
So you're
And
just
so there's two of
masturbating at each other.
you just wanking yourselves to porn on each other.
Yeah.
And then afterwards feeling completely disconnected.
Yeah.
And like on a deeper level, your body feels that.
Yeah.
You don't know what's happening.
No, you're right. And you say that the presence is felt there, or the lack of presence. You can feel it. You can feel it if you're with someone who's not present.
Yeah,
sometimes it's hard to be present all the time, which is fine. But if you're like my ex, he kept going into fantasy. He needed fantasy, and I found it so difficult because I could feel he wasn't with me.
Yeah. I remember this is a long time ago, but I remember a girl I was with, she was giving me a blowjob, and then I looked down and she was watching the TV.
Oh.
And I'm like, I mean, to be fair, like maybe the TV should have been off, but she was watching the TV while giving me head. And I was like, and it really pissed me off in the moment. Even though I was probably with my eyes closed thinking about someone else.
Thinking about something else, yeah. I know.
It's mad.
It's mad. But yeah, I think this whole thing comes back to, we talked to presence, actually being present with yourself.
Yeah.
And in your body rather than in the fantasy, in the story. But also, sometimes we can use the story in the fantasy. It's not to blame or shame that. But the thing is, if that's a go-to every time, you can get stuck in that. And then that's that loop that you can never get out of.
Yeah, and the key is awareness at the beginning, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you say to a man who wants to have more sex with his partner, but he doesn't want to disrespect her, or, if he feels like he's not being satisfied?
Well,
then what questions should he be asking himself?
I think it's good to have a conversation with her about it. I think it's interesting to talk about what does sex mean? What is sex? Because I feel like I've seen a lot of women that we think that sex means that we're going to have penetrative sex, and when we say A, we've got to say B, we've got to say C, rather than actually I'm happy to cuddle, but that's it, right? So there can be this fear of having to give more than actually we want, and then we're just like, well, we'll just have nothing. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
So having conversations about what do you really need?
I feel like, couples should respect each other and each other's wishes. And like to stay true to what you want and feel like you need, but also not to push them into a place where they feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Now, if you're both aligned with what you want and need in your own relationship, but they don't align, like at what point does one of the partners give the other one what they want, even if it's not what they themselves want? How do you stay true to your needs and give and fulfill their needs?
That's a good question. That's why I feel like the consent work is so important, because we're breaking it down to start with. We're breaking it down. So we're clear about who's it for, really clear about who's it for, and clear about what our limits or boundaries are, what when. And if we have all our life been giving when we didn't want to give, then sometimes we need a break from giving. We do. It's just like, I'm fucking done.
Yeah.
Right? And then once we've had a break from that, then sometimes I find this in myself, then generosity can start to come up, and then the wanting to give can then happen again. But if we've been in this pleaser of overgiving, it's actually really important to have a break from it. But also having really open and honest conversations about what do you really need, because sometimes, we may think that we need sex, penetration, orgasm, or what, but what do we really need? Maybe it's closeness.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a cuddle.
Yeah.
Maybe it's eye gazing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just being heard, being listened to. Maybe it's being held in that space of emotional holding, right? Maybe it's not what we think we want. Does that make sense? Because sometimes I think we want something, but actually that's not really the truth of what we want.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. And I think the open, continual conversations,
Yes.
because I've definitely had open conversations, and then once they've been done, it's like, oh, well, we've had them now.
Yeah.
But a month later, like, we change, we're always growing,
Always,
evolving.
always.
And what might have been true last month isn't true this month.
Yes. And also, it's also like we tend to desire from a set menu, right? But actually, we create that menu in our minds. Our partners are probably thinking that that menu is maybe even different from the menu that we're creating. And actually, there may be something much more available. Actually, what's really interesting is to just play a game of expressing your desires.
Go on,
Without any action. I did this with one guy. He was like, I want you to make me dinner. And he was like, yeah, I'd love to do that. And I was like, oh, I didn't think you'd want to do that. But actually he did. Right. So you could just ask. It could be, right, oh, I'd love you to cuddle me tonight. There's no action, but you're just expressing your desire. And she could express her desires as well. I wish you'd stop bugging me for sex.
Yeah.
Or I wish you'd take the pressure off. Whatever. But just asking for what you want, but without any action.
It's work, right? It's work to be able to get to that place of conversation where you feel comfortable to be able to say these things.
Yeah.
Because it's so, and it's for both parties, right? It's not just work being able to say it, but it's work hearing it and not reacting in a negative way.
Yeah.
Because that's where the damage can happen.
Yeah.
And like I know, like I have very strong reactions sometimes, and I've been working on it for years. Because the last thing I want to do is make someone feel shit. Because
That's another thing. That's another thing. We don't ask for what we want because we're frightened of how that's going to make the other person feel.
Yeah.
And also, in the past, if someone asked me for something, I felt like, oh, I need to give it to that person.
Yeah.
And then I would feel, oh, and that can sometimes hurt. But actually now, someone can ask for something and I can go, yeah, I appreciate you asking for that. But
No.
Yeah. I'm a no.
Yeah.
And yes to your desire. Fuck yeah. I appreciate you so
I
much
love
for
that.
asking for what you want. Because we limit ourselves.
That's a great, the presentation of it.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's so much going on.
We need to feel, but people need to feel comfortable to ask for what they want without judgment.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I would love to do.
Yeah.
Fuck, my brain. I was going to say, this is what I want to do to you.
Yeah.
And it's okay if you don't want me to do that.
Yeah.
But I would love to do this.
Yeah.
There's a fine line as well, isn't it? Of not being like, this is what I really want to do to you. Please let me do it to you. I need this. I think there's like
but there's something
between what you need and want is.
But there's
right?
something in the desire that actually just expressing it in itself, right? Actually makes you feel it.
Yeah.
It makes you have the experience of doing it, even though you're not receiving it, right? It's really liberating to express the desire, and also for the other person to say, "That's amazing. That's a no for me."
What do you say to someone who, they've expressed desire and then, quite rightly so, sometimes they're not going to get the positive result. They're not going to get the yes. They're not going to get the doors are open for you to do that. And then they feel rejected or disappointed.
Well, that's something for them to work on.
That's
as well,
something for that.
Yeah, because it's hard to get a no as well. That can feel like a rejection.
Yeah.
Or I've been too much. I've asked for too much. Or whatever. Or I've upset. There could be all sorts. I'm frightened that I've upset you by asking for that. Blah blah blah. But yeah, there's lessons in all of it.
Lisa, thank you. I could talk to you about this for hours.
Me too.
There's so many different branches and facets to it and layers. But I think it's really important what you're doing. I'm going to leave links to everything that you do in the description below and stuff.
Yeah.
Because you all need to get on board.
Come to my workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, it's really, and the work is really about starting slowly, very slowly. We do not very much, but a lot happens.
Yeah, nice.
Breaking down your action for you, your action for them.
Nice one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Tender Heart podcast. This touches my heart deeply. I would really love to stay in touch with you. So if you're feeling a yes, go to my website and join my mailing list.